Hello, guys. This is Jerry, and I'm here with Benny Danger, an author. And let's talk about writing, let's talk about life, and let's talk about his book. So, Benny, welcome.
Hey, how are you doing, Jerry? Hey, everybody, how are you?
I am good, man. And thanks for reaching out, and I'm very excited to talk to you about your passion. So, let's just get started. When did you discover that you wanted to be a writer?
I've always had an overactive imagination. Writing's always come to me, and it's always been that dream, you know. And it was probably about 2 years ago, when I was 31, I decided to actually take it seriously and take on becoming a full-time author.
And was there like an inciting incident, or was it just one of those, okay, it just happened?
I had like a really bad 6 months at work where they were trying to train me up to this position, whether I liked it or not. So they were giving me all of the difficult stuff and all of the hard stuff and the challenging that I didn't sign up to do. And I just decided, you know what, I'm done with this. Right.
I see. Now, to find inspiration to write the book,
Yeah.
was this something that you've been planning for a while, or did it come spontaneously?
I've got probably about 30 million projects that made it to chapter 4 or 5, so it's always been that follow through, I should say. And I finally followed through on a book that I planned, you know.
And what was the secret to this time, if following through completely versus other projects where it didn't follow through?
The secret this time was I sat down and I immersed myself in the writing community before I got into it. I followed a lot of YouTubers. Some were great, some were not so great. And that's what I wanted to mix. I read some really great books that were recommended by them. I read some crappy books that were recommended. And I just started to put myself in that picture and mentally think like, yeah, I want to do this. This is what I want to do one day. And I finally got there. Well,
I see. So that's a good tip for people who want to, whether get started and continue something. It's that community is very, very important. And that's how actually Benny and I met. We were in one of these Facebook groups, and then bam. So yeah, the community is very important.
yeah, and you never know when or who is going to be like the next best friend you're going to meet online, and it's like core person in your circle. I
Yeah.
guess you
Yeah.
always have a circle or a team.
Yeah, exactly. It's this analogy is not always the most perfect analogy, but it works, which is that whatever you want to do, right? If you surround yourself with a few people that do it, you're more likely to do it. It's like one of those life lessons.
Yeah, like I believe in finding mentors, whether they're online and disconnected, or somebody in real life that's written a book.
So let's talk about the Cursed Companionship, your book. Is there
Yeah.
anything about that was taken from your life, or was it through just a hobby, through your research? Tell me more about how you came up with the concept.
I'm a huge music fan, and I take a lot of inspiration from that. And one of them had a line that said, "If I had another penny, I would have another jail." And it just rolled around in my head endlessly for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I started to develop it after watching an interview with Stephen King, where he talks about those ideas, that those little grains that you grow into a big project that you just keep coming back. And so I just sort of focused in on that. I let the other 30,000 projects go, and I just kind of said, no, we're going to tunnel vision on this one.
And I searched up the line, so it's jail like Gill, right? Not jail. At first I thought it said jail, but Jill, Gill.
No, jail, yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay, cool. Yeah. What does that mean? Like, what does Gill mean? If I had another penny, I would buy another jail.
Oh, a prison.
Oh, okay. So it is. It's just another way of saying prison. Okay, I just didn't
Yeah,
know
sorry,
because
sorry, I misunderstood.
no, no, no. It's all good because I was like GILL. What does that mean? Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so all right. So the character in the book, talking about grave diggers and stuff like that. When you write a book, do you kind of have the plan? Like, okay, plot point one. I'm borrowing from movie, right? Plot point one. Plot point two, etc. Climax. Do you have that in mind, or do you kind of sort of improvise as you go?
Uh, I'm still learning my process with the Cursed Companionship. It was very much, let's just sit down and write and figure it out as I go. And as I sort of hit the midway point of the project, I started to think, okay, I actually have to do a little more planning in order to bring things into a tighter, nice conclusion. And for my next projects going forward, I'm going to probably do a little more plotting, the chapters and everything sorted out before I start.
And was it mostly a youth project? So did you have people kind of consult all the time, or did you send it to all your friends to kind of give you feedback? Tell me more about this feedback loop.
No, I just sort of focused in and just sort of did it my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
I did ask for a little bit of sorry, a little bit of feedback during the beginning when it was just a couple chapters. I got some great online feedback from Reddit. I'm pretty active on there. And after that, I just sort of thought, get it done.
And that makes sense because it's funny paralleling how I create things because a lot of times I need help with the beginning too. If you look at a lot of the videos I edit, usually once it starts, it's good, but it's just that first initial thing I always need help on. I need people to like give me advice, like how do I capture people's interest and stuff like that, right? So it's funny that as a writer, for the very beginning, you needed some of that feedback. Okay, how do I tighten this? How do I make the first part really exciting?
Oh yeah, I find if you have the start figured out, it's a lot easier to see the finish, right? But if your ideas are all crooked and you don't have everything fitting right on the page, it's really hard to keep a project going. So I definitely welcome feedback from anybody really. You never know when the best piece of advice can come along.
Yeah. And it's also really cool showing the power of social media that you got feedback from Reddit. That's awesome. I use Reddit too, but I usually just lurk on Reddit. I don't usually put myself out there on Reddit, but it's pretty cool that as a writer, the community from just talking to you, it seems like they're very, very supportive on there.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of them were very blunt about it, right? But I still remember the words to these days. I think I still have some of them on. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Um, so let's talk about. So you finished the book, and then
Yep.
was it immediately evident to you that you needed to put it on Amazon, or were you also looking at other distribution ways? So tell me more about that process because I think more and more people nowadays want to publish, right? It's not
Yeah.
as guarded as let's say 40 years ago where if you didn't have like a publisher, uh-oh, what do you do? So how did you get into this process? How did you determine, okay, Amazon is the way to publish?
Well, I sort of pigeonholed myself with my actual novel because it's like a short little dark fantasy novella. And to my research, there wasn't really a market for just a one off of those. Everybody wants a big series and they want somebody that's got a social media following like that. And I just sort of figured if they're going to make me do all the work myself, why don't I just do all the work myself? Right? They just want to come in at the end and scoop the paycheck. No way. I'm not a musician. That's not happening to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, was using Amazon a hassle or was it pretty easy to figure out?
Once I stopped making amateur mistakes, it was great. Once I had the cover art and everything done, I then had it formatted and like the file, like it wasn't the right dimension. I think I was 2 pages over the count. So I'm trying to upload it, and it's like your cover's not big enough. I need like 4 more pixels. So then
I
I'm
see. I
sitting there at 3 a.m. trying to do this on my phone and PDF editor, making those mistakes. But actually using Amazon itself, it was actually pretty easy and seamless.
It's interesting hearing about sort of some of these, I guess you would call it like procedural amateur mistakes, right? Because whenever you're trying to use a new platform, and it's a platform that, just from, I've been studying coding, right? So I know how
Yeah,
the back end of Amazon is probably built, and I know it probably isn't as pretty as some of the other, just like, if you compare, let's say, Amazon to YouTube or whatever. Amazon, the
yeah.
back end, when you're trying to do all this publishing stuff, it's probably not as pretty, and it's not as user friendly is the wrong word, but I would call it, it's not as user friendly. So I bet you some of it was like, I just have to kind of like figure out how this layout grooves with my brain, and then okay, once I figure it out, let's figure out what to do. Right? Was it kind of like that?
Well, full disclosure, I'm not really good navigating the internet, I
Mm-hmm.
should say. So I've just really got to take time and read a page 30 times over before I actually start clicking stuff and making decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as like using the physical page, it took me probably like an hour or so to get the full book uploaded once I had everything ready.
Mm-hmm. I see.
But it's just a stressful process for me.
I bet. Um. So now that the book is on Amazon,
Mhm.
how does the promotion or getting the word out go? Because I assume Amazon, because they have so many people publishing, they're not going to just start organically pushing it to people. Maybe they do. I don't know. But so tell me more about the promotional aspect of it. I mean, it's awesome you're doing an interview with me, right? So this goes into it. But what else do you do to kind of get the word out?
Well, right now I am using social media, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit. As far as Amazon goes, from what I understand, if you're not like really, really popular, if you're not in their top 10 lists or their bestseller lists for any given category, then they're not really going to promote you at all. It's up to people to find you on the site. And unless you pay for the marketing, for the sponsor, put the ads up for your book, then it's really all on you to funnel people to that.
Yeah, exactly. Have you found one particular platform that's really, really helpful for your promotion? Is it Facebook? Is it Reddit? Is it a mixture of anything? Tell me more about that.
I've actually found a lot more luck dealing in person.
Oh,
So at work, I put like flyers up on everybody's desk and everybody's door, and I put them in guys' tools boxes and stuff. So I got a lot of sales from there, especially this time of year.
yeah.
Putting up 2 or 3 copies for stockings and stuff. And I've got the books going into some of the libraries I'm donating them to. And what
Ah.
else? I've got some craft shows, some book fairs lined up. So
That's
yeah.
great. Craft shows, book fairs,
Mhm.
those things are awesome. And the last time I've been to a book fair was probably like 20 years ago. I just hearing that word makes me happy because you're around books, physical books. That's just good for the brain. I'm
Yeah.
glad book fairs are still going on. Please elaborate on that.
Well, like it's a little dicey right now where I live because there's just this big strike and the teachers aren't really, or not the teachers, the support staff and everybody. I'm sort of holding off, or I don't think there's any book fairs on right now. But as far as getting in and sorry, I'm still kind of new to it and I've got all my notes in the other room. But yeah, yeah, it's definitely a process.
Yeah. And like being new to
Sorry,
it
my
is fine. Don't worry about it.
moving.
Like, yeah, it's what I tell people is whenever they think, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to perform on camera. The key is as long as you're listening, you're going to do well. And, we're having a conversation, which is good, right? Some people, if you talk to them and they're not listening, then it's gonna be like but like you're listening, I'm listening, so the conversation's going fine. So just a little reassurance because I know for people who are not used to being on camera, it's like I don't know what to look for, whether I'm doing well or not doing well. So yeah,
Like, so
exactly.
circle
And
back to the book fair stuff
yeah,
because I'm just waiting on a lot of people to get back to me right now, and it's just a very busy and confusing time. So like, I wish I did have more information, but
yeah. I remember back when I think this stopped by high school or maybe stopped by middle school, but in elementary school, we had those like scholastic booklets. Remember those things? And then you could
yeah,
like order books. And do you plan to get into that kind of catalog? I
yeah,
guess is the right word.
yeah. Like the biggest thing is I'm not really sure if Amazon is the publisher for me to do that with. So I'm trying to look into what publishers that the book fairs use, and I'm not sure if Scholastic is still strictly the one that they work through, or if they bring in other books. And I know right now they sell a lot of pens and merchandise too. So yeah, I've just got to try and figure out if I can get like Ingram Spark as something they'll work with, or if I have to jump through some hoops. I
Yeah.
don't know.
And the other thing that was really refreshing and enlightening is that the face to face is still important, man. No matter how much the world wants to move into the meta direction or whatever, the face to face is still important. The direct sales, there's a reason why that personal connection is important. So it's awesome that you're still doing that.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of interesting because the more I think about it, the more I'm looking into other venues I can get into as like a fantasy or a sci-fi author piggybacking on something, right? So I'm looking at maybe like fairs. If I can get stuff at fairs and like Renaissance shows and stuff in the area. There's lots of reenactments around here. So little things like that I can wave a fantasy book around and say, hey, I've got
Yeah,
a table.
exactly. Yeah, totally. Totally. So,
Yeah.
this book is not in a series, right? You said it's probably going to be more like a one-off thing, or do you think this book will lead to a series?
I really do like the idea of a series, but being it more a bunch of companion novels, little novellas. So no matter which one somebody grabs, they can read it and then grab the other one and go, oh, okay, it's the same world, just a different time, you know? So
Yeah,
I
exactly.
am sort of fan of the trilogy deal, three little novellas.
I see. So I guess this would be a good point too to ask. So, what is the next book that's on your list, or let's say the next three big ideas that'll one day be focused into one? Tell me more about that. Uh oh. Oh, you're back.
Yeah, I froze there for a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, where was I? Where did it cut out?
Oh, so I finished asking my question about what's next, and then you froze, so I didn't get any
Oh,
of the response.
oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. What's next is I am gonna do a trilogy. Right. I like the idea of little companion novels that they can just grab and read them in any order and still get a full experience when they do want to, if they want to grab the next two. So yeah, a cute little book.
And is the focus still going to be on fantasy, like dark fantasy, or do you want to branch out into other genres? Tell me more about that.
Well, there's always going to be fantasy elements in anything I write, and I do have it sort of planned out for the second one that I'm going to go pirates,
Ooh.
right? And then I'm thinking the next one after might be more of a western thing, but it's going to follow the same sort of cursed characters. Maybe
Yeah, I see. That's cool. So it's like you have the same themes, we put them in different settings. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's I get to play around in little sandboxes that I like to create and I like to be in. You know,
Yeah.
I was watching Pirates of the Caribbean the other day to shamelessly rip off tropes.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of brings it full circle. So we started. You talked about growing up, how you had a imaginative imagination or over imaginative imagination. How
Yeah.
did you express that back in the day? Was it kind of like you invented your own storylines with the toys you played and stuff like that, or did you kind of play computer games, video games? Tell me more about that.
It was a little bit of everything. You know, I would watch TV. My dad was a big Star Trek guy, so I would put myself on the Enterprise, you know, and playing video games. I would imagine I'm the character. I get to do stuff, and playing with toys. They would all have names and personalities, and my dog was my best friend, you know, to a T. Right? I would talk to him, and we'd play with the toys together. So
Yeah, sounds
yeah,
like we would have been best friends when we were young because I was like that too. I didn't have a dog, but same type of storyline. All the toys had names, etc. Yeah, so it's pretty cool to hear about that from you.
I mean, I got the GI Joes if you want to come over.
Yeah, that's exactly my favorite things to play with, right? The little army men and stuff like that. So, which actually, I bet you have an idea like this, which is maybe like a some sort of like war plus fantasy, right? Like because you play GI Joes and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah. I'm always. It's crazy how many ideas I get, and that'll just go past,
Yeah.
right? And you know, look at it, I like to put a little bit of a spin on saying, what can I mash together? You know, can I do dinosaurs and AK-47s? Will that match? Right? Can we hunt dragons and have spaceships in the same world? You know,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. And guns and dinosaurs. There's a movie that's about to come out about that called 65. I don't know if you saw the trailer.
I was actually just having a conversation on Reddit with somebody about that. I think it's such a missed opportunity to just not make it on Earth, do whatever you want with pets.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They just had to do the kind of Planet of the Apes, but with dinosaurs.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that would be a cool final question to kind of end off on, which is nowadays, as a writer, yes, we have our writer community and stuff like that. Where else do you find inspiration?
Oh, I'll find inspiration from anywhere. The problem is making sure there's enough of it to keep the project going. Right? I I don't know. It's just kind
Yeah,
of
no, you mentioned a very important point, which is a lot of times, this is with anything in life. The inspiration is massive and maximal when you get started, but as you keep turning into a habit, the inspiration almost always disappears. It's like, where's all this stuff that was inspiring me when it first started? It's just like you can't find it. You pounded something very important.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and I guess that's the importance of having conversations like this. It's the importance of just sticking with that community because when all that inspiration that you expected to always be there isn't there, you still have a core little bit, right, that you can take from.
Yeah, it's definitely important to have like a support group,
Mm-hmm.
right? And have people that'll keep you accountable. Is my
Yeah,
big thing, right?
yeah,
It'll be like, where's the next chapter? Right?
yeah, yeah. I actually had another question. This is more
Yeah.
from a business or maybe like even a finance side that some people might be interested, which is when you're writing a book,
Mhm.
do you have like an estimate as to, okay, this is the cost, this is what potentially I would make? Do you think like that? Or is it more right now just out of love, out of hobby? So you're not really turning it into the primary source to fund yourself, so to speak.
My mentality is as long as one person reads it, I'm happy. You know, the more I learn and the more I become self-sufficient with editing and formatting and not cover design, I'm going to leave that to people with talent. Sorry, not talent, practice. People practice. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to just be able to push them out with as little financial involvement as possible and just let people enjoy them, whether I make money or not. I just want to build a catalog, get people interested in reading. You know,
Yeah, and then
things to
eventually things will hopefully just snowball, right? That's the thought. If you think about the money too quickly, then it's too much pressure for trying to do something that's so creative.
It cheapens the experience to me.
Yeah,
The more dollar signs you put on something, right?
exactly.
I keep telling the wife if she ever wants to move, I'm happy we can just get a shack.
Does your
40 acres.
wife write too, or is she the different type of personality? Tell me more of that.
Oh, she's a book burner. She just goes through murder mysteries once a week. Right,
Wow.
high school murder mysteries are her hobby now.
Wow.
Picked up,
So then you could do a murder mystery that also has fantasy elements.
murder mystery with dinosaurs and AK-47.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Cool. So this is a pretty good point to stop. This was Benny Danger, and Benny, let's definitely have you back in the future. Whether you have your next book planned or you just want to catch up, you're always welcome back. So,
Oh, the next book's already in the works, my man.
oh, that's great. So yeah, let's plan another conversation. Let's say when your next book, let's say you get like a quarter of the way through or halfway through or something, we can sort of go through your thought process and everything then.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great.
Cool. Awesome. So for everyone watching, I will put a link to his book, his current book, on Amazon. So you guys can click the link in the description, etc. And Benny, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you so much, Jerry, and everybody else there who's watching and listening. It means the world to me that taking time out of your day to just listen to this talking head. Thank you so much.